Hi, welcome to this video of principles for designing tables. When you're doing data analysis, you will want to present your results, and sometimes the best way to present your results is by using tables. So what should you think about when you are constructing a table? Let's start first with what tables do, right? Tables should summarize information. They're not there to present the entire data set. They're there to summarize results or summarize information. Tables are used to, and they should induce the reader to think about the substance of the data rather than the graphical design, right? When the reader looks at the table, they should think about the numbers that are in there, not at the colors or the fonts or whatever the design involves. So one of the main reasons for tables is to show the actual numbers or words that are in there, not the design. Perhaps most importantly, tables should encourage the eye to compare different pieces of data, right? And this is very important because it guides where, what goes in the columns, what goes in the rows. You know that the eye is better at comparing things that are side by side. So the table should encourage and make comparisons simple. So they should serve one reasonable, clear purpose: tabulation. Okay, you do not use a table to decorate a paper. The tables are there to summarize information, to tabulate data. That's what tables are used for. They're not there to decorate your paper. So there are two principles in table design, and the principle of efficiency is very important. This is the same as when designing a chart. So your table should give the viewer the greatest number of ideas in the shortest time, with the least amount of ink, and in the smallest space. And there is another one here, another principle for designing tables, is that the table should stand alone. They could be understood without the need to read the document's text. Right? So a table, if you look at a table without reading the text, you should know what's in the table and understand that table without having to read the document's text. So those are the two principles. Let's discuss them both, and let's start with efficiency. So tables that are efficient, they allow for comparisons, right? Sideways comparisons, because the eye is better at comparing things that are side by side. Try to avoid up and down comparisons. If the reader has to compare things, moving the eyes up and down, the table is probably not as efficient. Also, tables that are efficient show the maximum amount of data with the least amount of ink. So to do this, you eliminate useless lines, right? Avoid vertical lines, should never go in a table. Eliminate repetitive symbols in words, and have concise number. For example, if you're presenting dollars and you're using millions of dollars, consider using changing the units to millions of dollars, not dollars, right? That would avoid a lot of zeros or a lot of numbers. That would simplify a lot the table. If you have decimals, you should not have more than 2 decimals. And if you have percentages with decimals, you should not have more than 1 decimal. Okay? So let's explore these principles using an example. And too many times I've seen a table like this. Now, this is an interesting type of table, and it comes when you are trying to insert the table in Word or PowerPoint. Actually, they give you these choices, right? When you click on insert table, they give you all these choices, right? and you can tell right now off the bat that that's a lot of color. They're all with colors and all have lines, and a lot. That should tell you that that's a lot of junk in there. Actually, so this table was used with this style, right? Black on top and lines everywhere. So, and see, that's all the designs you have a lot of chart junk, or a lot of table junk in this case. So that tells you that you should start with something like that. No style, no grid. But anyway, too many times, PowerPoint will think for you and will give you something like that. Let's see. This table is supposed to be showing the relative frequencies of happiness level by gender. Then you have a lot of so gender equals male for this variable. This is, I guess, the happiness distribution for males, the happiness distribution for females, the total distribution for both genders, and the total. All right, so after looking at that table, we can start erasing all the chart junk. So let's analyze the chart junk, or the table junk in this case, for this particular table. All right, here, too much wasted ink. That's a lot of black that is not being used, and the whole thing is a lot of black that is not being used. There is a repetitive wording, gender, 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 equal, equal, equal. That could be out. Too many lines, vertical lines, avoid vertical lines at all cost. So too many lines in this table that are useless, they're just clutter. Too many decimal points. If you have a percentage, use 1, maximum 1 decimal point. That would erase a lot of numbers out of the table. Repetitive symbols, we can take out that and simplify the table. There is a useless column here. They're all 100. They should always add to 100, so there's no point in having that 100. That's a useless column to have. And let's see here. Oh, this is the most important thing that we should look at. So the relative frequencies. So the table is supposed to be showing us the relative frequencies of happiness level by gender. So we want to see the happiness for males and compare it to that for females, but the comparison here is up and down. That's not an easy comparison, right? So we should flip the table and have the genders in the column so you can compare men and female, male and female side by side, right? So let's consider this, eliminate all the junk that we're talking about here and make it more efficient to allow the eye to compare things better, and we have something like this, right? This is the table that we had before. Now consider this. Now we can compare male and female side by side. Okay, for the category I'm very happy, males have higher percentage, right, of very happy, and they have a lower percentage than females with the not too happy category. This was not allowing us to look at that easily. I took the total out because it wasn't needed, right? The whole purpose of the table was to compare male to female. So the total there was just a column that wasn't adding anything. So that erased a lot. The word gender is only used once, right, as opposed to 3 times. That equal sign that was not helping at all is out. The percentage sign that was used 12 times in this table is only used once. All that black ink is gone, which is easier on the eye. I have labeled this column. Before we didn't know what PowerPoint was giving me in this table, right? So you should always start. So when you're inserting a table with in Word or PowerPoint, start with this: no style, no grid. All right. So that is efficient design in tables. Eliminate lines, eliminate colors, Just show the columns that you need, and make sure that you are allowing the reader to compare things side by side. Now, let's look at the second principle of creating tables, and that is the table should stand alone, right? And tables that stand alone are correctly labeled, right? The label for that table, or the title, must state what the table is presenting. You have to know what the table is presenting by looking at the label, by looking at its title. And inside the table, columns should have clear headings, right? And all the labels must be labeled concisely and clearly. And tables should have explanatory notes if needed, right? One thing that they should always have is the data source. Where is the data coming from? Is it your own data? Are you taking the data from somewhere else? So that should be at the bottom of the table. And any notes that are explaining what some of the columns mean might be necessary. You have to include them as well, so that the table stands alone, and you don't have to go reading the text to find out what is in the table. So I was looking at an article the other day, actually yesterday when I was making this video, and I saw this publication, right? It's called Student Debt and the Value of a College Degree. It was made in July 2013 by the Public Policy Institute of California. You can find it here using this link here. So let's look at the table. It looks exactly like this. I pretty much copied and pasted it from the report here. And let's look at the label. So table 2, half of California students in default attended private. All right, so we see this table. That's the source, the data source. And you have the notes here that was telling us that the official 2-year cohort default rates were published in this other part. And then there is an appendix in the report that is showing us more numbers. And the total here includes some other institutions. All right, cool. Now, what is wrong with this table? What do you think is in this table, or isn't in this table, that is not making it stand on its own? Okay, let's analyze it here. First, half of California students in default attended private for-profit colleges. That is the label. But that is not telling us what the table is presenting, right? That is some finding in the table. That should not be the table label. That is not, this is a very poor title. It's not really showing us what the table is presenting. It's not indicating what the table is presenting. We don't know what the table is presenting by looking at this. So that's a poor label. Now, even when you look at the table, it is very hard to see this, that half of California students in default attended for-profit colleges. But when you look in the table, it's what the authors want to show, and it's actually here. It's 12,000 out of 24,000. That is around 50%, right? But you have to make that calculation. It's not clear where you should look for it. So that table doesn't stand on its own. It's really not showing what it's supposed to show, and really you don't know really what it's showing, because the title is not clear enough. Well, this column is useless for the purpose of this table, right? Students in repayment. If they want to show us default rate, this is useless. This one is useless too, the number of institutions, for the purpose of this table. Also, looking at the design now, at the other principle, there are too many lines and too many colors, too much ink in this table. So, what do I suggest? I suggest something like this. Change the title to show or to indicate what the table is showing. It's showing a distribution of California student loan in default by type of educational institution. Now we know what the table is showing. Right? I switched the columns a little bit. Students with outstanding loans. These are all the students by this column is. Now we show the students in default, that is a count and a relative frequency. Now we have that 50% that they were trying to show in the table, right? And they were making a big deal about that 50% in the text as well, but you couldn't find it in the table unless you calculated it yourself. Now, and we have the default rate, right? Now the number that we wanted to show, or let's say we were the authors, is in the table. Now, a lot of ink is gone and a lot of lines are gone. The previous table had 39 lines and a ton of color ink. This table has 9 lines. That's 30 lines that we took out, and it has no distracting color ink. Right? This is the pure data. This is exactly what a table should look like without the junk. So just to summarize, tables must allow for easy comparisons side by side. Tables must show a maximum amount of data with the least amount of ink, right? So eliminate useless lines, eliminate repetitive symbols and words, have concise number figures, maximum 1 decimal point for percentages. Tables must be correctly labeled. The title must state what the table is presenting. Table columns must have clear and concise headings, all of them. And they must have concise and clear explanatory notes if needed. And the source of data should always be at the bottom of the table. So that's it. I hope that your tables are free of chart junk and easy to understand in the future. Thanks for watching.